In one of our lead generation ideas that I mentioned earlier, we spoke about using public speaking as somewhat of a secret weapon. And I wanted to go into a little more detail about how to prepare something like that, because it's not a simple art. It may sound simple to stand up and talk, but a lot of people who stand up and talk, even the ones that overcome the nerves and get it done, they often don't do a very good job once they get up there, and the people aren't going to remember the message. And so I'm going to give you just a few short but really important points for when you're preparing any kind of public speaking. Number one is to have a plan in place. Your plan should consist of an introduction, which will grab the attention, and your points. You don't want too many. I would say aim to have 3 points to your presentation, and then have a conclusion. So those 3 points, in light of that, this is the conclusion to come to, and then after the conclusion you want an appeal. In other words, that's your call to action. Whatever it is you want the people who have heard you to do as a result of listening to what you just said, that's where you make that abundantly clear to them. Also, at the beginning, just at the end of your introduction, you want to tell them what you're about to tell them. And then when you get to the conclusion, you tell them, this is what I just told you. And so that just goes over again, cements it in the mind. It's really easy to forget that, and it's also very easy when you get up there to feel the pressure of the moment, and so you start cutting bits out on the fly. Try not to do that. Try to stick with your plan, because the plan is usually a good indicator. And as you get more experienced, you'll be able to read the crowd. And when you read the crowd, you'll be able to say, okay, I'm losing their interest, so it's time for me to change my style a little bit, try something different. But especially at the beginning, you're probably not in a good frame of mind to do that, so try to avoid doing that at the start. But when you do speak, it's very easy to fall into a monotone way of talking and just go through your points, and no one remembers when you get to the end. Keep some liveliness in the way you're talking. Speed up, slow down at appropriate places in the discussion. And as you go forward, don't be afraid to use a little bit of humor to capture people's attention, and make it as relatable as possible. Another mistake that a lot of people make when they're doing public speaking is to read from a script. Now, yeah, sure, some people may need to do that at the beginning, but even then, I would advise you to not do that. Try to only take up notes with you, just your bullet points, because if you have too much, you end up with your face in your notes, and no one will connect with you because you're not giving them any eye contact. So they are just some of the basics, and I know you probably, if you've done any public speaking before, you're probably thinking, Luke, I've heard this all before. But the truth of the matter is, if you get these elements right, these are the 20% of the techniques that make 80% of the difference. So if you can just nail these few things, you will be better than 80% of the other speakers that are out there. So I encourage you to give that a go. And I should also mention, this is a bonus point. Practice, 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 practice out loud in a room by yourself before you do it, because stuff you write down on the page often is totally different when you're actually projecting it in a conversational tone. So every time I'm going to be public speaking, I try to attempt to practice it out loud. I go into a room and shut the door, lock myself in there, and I say it out loud, just like I was in the room, complete with my introduction and thanking the people for being there, all of those sort of things. When I get that right, and I know it's right in that context, then I'm much more comfortable to step up and do it in front of the people. But I always attempt to do it 3 to 5 times before I actually do the speech itself. So I strongly recommend that. That makes an astronomical difference. So take that, apply it. I would love to hear, if you're doing something with this information, please let us know in the community. I'd love to hear about it and hear how you went. So I'll see you guys next time for another video. Bye.